ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. To continue the videos on talks with Maharishi Ramana, I start video number 15 with talk number 251. An aristocratic lady looking very intelligent though pensive asked, "We had heard of you, Maharaj Ji, as the kindest and noblest soul. We had long desired to have your darshan. I came here once before on the 14th of last month, but could not remain in your holy presence as long as I wished. Being a woman and also young, I could not stand the people around, and so broke away hurriedly after asking one or two simple questions. There are no holy men like you in our part of the country. I am happy as I have everything I want, but I do not have that peace of mind which brings happiness. I now come here seeking your blessing so that I may gain it." Maharishi replies, "Bhakti fulfills your desire. Devotee, I want to know how I can gain that peace of mind. Kindly be pleased to advise me." Maharishi: "Yes, devotion and surrender." Devotee: "Am I worthy of being a devotee?" Maharishi: "Everyone can be a devotee. Spiritual fare is common to all and never denied to anyone, be the person old or young, male or female." Devotee: "That is exactly what I am anxious to know. I am young and a grahini housewife. There are duties of grihastha dharma. The household is a devotion consistent with such a position?" Maharishi replies, "Certainly. What are you? You are not the body. You are pure consciousness. Grihastha dharma, household duty, and the world are only phenomena appearing on that pure consciousness. It remains unaffected. What prevents you from being your own self?" Devotee: "Yes, I am already aware of the line of teaching of Maharishi. It is the quest for the self, but my doubt persists. If such quest is compatible with Grihastha life, household life?" Maharishi replies, "The self is always there. It is you. There is nothing but you. Nothing can be apart from you. The question of compatibility or otherwise does not arise." Devotee: "I shall be more definite. Though a stranger, I am obliged to confess the cause of my anxiety. I am blessed with children. A boy, a good brahmachari, passed away in February. I was grief-stricken. I was disgusted with this life. I want to devote myself to spiritual life, but my duties as a grahini do not permit me to lead a retired life. Hence my doubt." Maharishi replies, "Retirement means abidance in the self, nothing more. It is not leaving one set of surroundings and getting entangled in another set. nor even leaving the concrete world and becoming involved in a mental world. The birth of the sun, his death, etc., are seen in the self only. Recall the state of sleep. Were you aware of anything happening? If the sun or the world be real, should they not be present with you in sleep? You cannot deny your existence in sleep, nor can you deny you are happy then. You are the same person now speaking and raising doubts. You are not happy according to you, but you are happy in sleep. What has transpired in the meantime? That happiness of sleep has broken down. It is the rise of ego. That is the new arrival in the Jagrat state. There was no ego in sleep. The birth of the ego is called the birth of the person. There is no other kind of birth. Whatever is born is bound to die. Kill the ego. There is no fear of recurring death for what is once dead. The self remains even after the death of the ego. That is bliss. That is immortality. Devotee, how is that to be done? Maharishi replies, see for whom these doubts exist. Who is the doubter? Who is the thinker? That is the ego. Hold it. The other thoughts will die away. The ego is left pure. See where from the ego rises. That is pure consciousness. Devotee puts the question. It seems difficult. May we proceed by Bhakti Marga? Maharishi, it is according to individual temperament and equipment. Bhakti is the same as Vichara. Devotee, I mean meditation, etc. Maharishi, yes, meditation is on a form that will drive away other thoughts. The one thought of God will dominate others. That is concentration. The object of meditation is thus the same as that of Vichara. Question by devotee. Do we not see God in concrete form? Maharishi, yes. God is seen in the mind. The concrete form may be seen. Still it is only in the devotee's mind. The form and appearance of God manifestation are determined by the mind of the devotee. But it is not the finality. There is the sense of duality. It is like a dream vision. After God is perceived, Vichara commences. That ends in a realization of the self. Vichara is the ultimate route. Of course, a few find Vichara practicable, others find Bhakti easier. Question by devotee. Did not Mr. Brunton find you in London? Was it only a dream? Maharishi replies, yes, he had the vision. He saw me in his mind. Devotee, did he not see this concrete form? Maharishi, yes, still in his mind. Devotee, how shall I reach the self? Maharishi, there is no reaching the self. If the self were to be reached, it would mean that the self is not now and here, but that is, it should be got anew. What is got afresh will also be lost, so it will be impermanent. What is not permanent is not worth striving for. So I say the self is not reached. You are the self. You are already that. The fact is that you are ignorant of your blissful state. Ignorance supervenes and draws a veil over the pure bliss. Attempts are directed only to remove this ignorance. This ignorance consists in working knowledge. The wrong knowledge consists in the false identification of the self with the body, the mind, etc. This false identity must go and there remains the self. Question by devotee. How is that to happen? Maharishi replies, by inquiry into the self. Devotee. It is difficult. Can I realize the self? Maharaj, kindly tell me. It looks so difficult. Maharishi replies, you are already the self. Therefore, realization is common to everyone. Realization knows no difference in the aspirants. This very doubt, can I realize, or the feeling I have not realized, are the obstacles. Be free from these also. Question by devotee. But there should be the experience. Unless I have the experience, how can I be free from these afflicting thoughts? Mercy. These are also in the mind. They are there because you have identified yourself with the body. If this false identity drops away, ignorance vanishes and truth is revealed. Devotee puts the question, yes, I feel it difficult. There are disciples of Bhagavan who have had his grace and realized without any considerable difficulty. I too wish to have that grace. Being a woman and living at a long distance, I cannot avail myself of Maharishi's holy company as much as I would wish and as often as I would. Possibly I may not be able to return. I request Bhagavan's grace. When I am back in my place, I want to remember Bhagavan. May Bhagavan be pleased to grant my prayer. Maharishi, where are you going? You are not going anywhere. Even supposing you are the body, has your body come from Lucknow to Tiruvannamalai? You had simply sat in the car and one convenience or another had moved, and finally you say that you have come here. The fact is that you are not the body. The self does not move. The world moves in it. You are only what you are. There is no change in you. So then, even after what looks like departure from here, you are here and there and everywhere. These scenes shift. As for grace, grace is within you. If it is external, it is useless. Grace is the self. You are never out of its operation. Grace is always there. My dear friends, make note of these utterances of Bhagavan. I again repeat. As for grace, grace is within you. If it is external, it is useless. Grace is the self. You are never out of its operation. Grace is always there. Please make note of this statement. Question by devotee. I mean that when I remember your form, my mind should be strengthened and that response should come from your side too. I should not be left to my individual efforts, which are after all only weak. Maharishi replies, grace is the self. I have already said, if you remember Bhagavan, you are prompted to do so by the self. Is not grace already there? Is there a moment when grace is not operating in you? Your remembrance is the forerunner of grace. That is the response. That is the stimulus. That is the self. And that is grace. There is no cause for anxiety. Devotee. Can I engage in spiritual practice even remaining in samsara? Mercy, yes, certainly one ought to do so. Question by devotee. Is not samsara a hindrance? Do not all the holy books advocate renunciation? Very, very good question, dear friends. Very, very good. Try to understand this. Mercy replies, samsara is only in your mind. The world does not speak out saying, I am the world. Otherwise, it must be ever there, not excluding your sleep. Since it is not in sleep, it is impermanent. Being impermanent, it has no stamina. Having no stamina, it is easily subdued by the self. The self alone is permanent. Renunciation is not identification of the self with the non-self. On the disappearance of ignorance, the non-self ceases to exist. That is true renunciation. Question by devotee. Why did you then leave your home in your youth? Mercy. That is my prarabdha fate. One's course of conduct in this life is determined by one's prarabdha. My prarabdha is this way. Your prarabdha is that way. Devotee. Should I not also renounce? Mercy, if that had been your prarabdha, the question would not have arisen. Devotee, I should therefore remain in the world and engage in spiritual practice. Well, can I get realization in this life, Maharshi? This has been already answered. You are always the self. Earnest efforts never fail. Success is bound to result. Devotee, will Maharshi be pleased to extend grace to me also? Maharshi smiled and said, with blessings and salutation. The interview came to a close and the party departed directly. Wonderful. 30th September 1936. Talk number 252. Devotee. Sri Ramakrishna touched Vivekananda and the latter realized bliss. Is it possible, Maharshi? Maharshi replies, Sri Ramakrishna did not touch all for that purpose. He did not create Atma. He did not create realization. Vivekananda was ripe. He was anxious to realize. He must have completed the preliminary course in his past births. Such is possible for ripe persons only. Devotee puts a question, can the same miracle be worked for all? Maharshi, if they are fit, fitness is the point. A strong man controls the weaker man. A strong mind controls the weaker mind. That was what happened in the case cited. The effect was only temporary. Why did Vivekananda not sit quiet? Why did he wander about after such a miracle? Because the effect was only temporary. Devotee puts a question, how is the mind to dive into the heart, Maharshi? The mind now sees itself diversified as the universe. If the diversity is not manifest, it remains in its own essence. That is the heart. Entering the heart means remaining without distractions. The heart is the only reality. The mind is only a transient phase. To remain as one's self is to enter the heart. Because a man identifies himself with the body, he sees the world separate from him. This wrong identification arises because he has lost his moorings and has swerved from his original state. He is now advised to give up all these false ideas, to trace back his source and remain as the self. In that state there are no differences, no questions will arise. All these shastras are meant only to make the man retrace his steps to the original source. He need not gain anything new. He must only give up his false ideas and useless accretions. Instead of doing it, Instead of doing it, he tries to catch hold of something strange and mysterious because he believes that his happiness lies somewhere. That is the mistake. If one remains as the self, there is bliss. Probably he thinks that being quiet does not bring about the state of bliss. That is due to his ignorance. The only practice is to find out to whom these questions arise. How to control lust, anger, etc. Maharshi replies, whose are these passions? Find out. If you remain as the self, there will be found to be nothing apart from the self, then there will be no need to control, etc. Devotee question. If a person whom we lose, if a person whom we love dies, grief results. Shall we avoid such grief by either loving all alike or by not loving at all? Maharshi. If one dies, it results in grief for the other who lives. The way to get rid of grief is not to live. Kill the one who grieves. Who will remain then to suffer? The ego must die. That is the only way. The two alternatives amount to the same state when all have become the one self who is there to be loved or hated. Question by devotee. What is the sun marga? What is the moon marga? Which of them is easier? Maharshi replies, Ravi marga. Sun marga is jnana. Moon marga is yoga. They think that after purifying the 72,000 nadis in the body, Sushumna is entered and the mind passes up to the Sahasrara and there is nectar trickling. These are all mental concepts. The man is already overwhelmed by world concepts. Other concepts are now added in the shape of this yoga. The object of all this is to rid the man of concepts and to make him inhere as the pure self, that is, absolute consciousness bereft of thoughts. Why not go straight to it? Why add new encumbrances to the already existing ones? 1st October 1936, talk number 253. Mr. F.G. Pierce, Principal, Scindia School, Gwalior, Bhagwan has stated in Sadvidya Anubandham, Supplement Sloka 36, the illiterates are certainly better off than the literates whose egos are not destroyed by the quest of the self. This being so, could Bhagwan advise a schoolmaster who feels this to be true how to carry on education in such a way that the desire for literacy and intellectual knowledge may not obscure the more important search for the self? Are the two incompatible? If they are not, then from what age and by what means can young people best be stimulated towards the search for the real truth within? Maharshi replies, pride of learning and desire for appreciation are condemned and not learning itself. Learning leading to search for truth and humanity is good. A request from the same seeker. The above questioner has spent 2 very precious days in physical proximity to Bhagwan Maharshi, whom he has not seen since 17 years ago. He visited him for a few minutes on the hillside. His duties now compel him to take his body far away again to the north, and it may be years before he can return. He humbly requests Bhagwan to make a strong link with him and to continue to help him with his grace in the quest of the self. Maharshi had a gentle smile for this. Talk number 254. Mr. Duncan Greenlees, quoted a few verses from Srimad Bhagavatam to the following effect. See the self in yourself like the pure ether in all beings in and out. Unashamed fall prostrate before even an outcast, a cow or an ass. So long as I am not perceived in all, worship all with body and mind. With right knowledge see all as Brahma. This once clear all doubts are at an end and you will remain withdrawn in the self. He then raised the following questions. Devotee question. Is this a true path to the realization of the oneself? Is it not easier for some thus to practice seeing Bhagwan in whatever meets the mind than to seek the supramental through the mental inquiry, who am I? Maharshi, yes, when you see God in all, do you think of God or do you not? You should certainly keep God in your mind, for seeing God all around you. Keeping God in your mind becomes dhyana. Dhyana is the stage before realization. Realization is in the self only. Dhyana must precede it. Whether you make dhyana of God or of self, it is immaterial. The goal is the same. But you cannot escape the self. You want to see God in all but not in yourself. If all are God, are you not included in that all? Yourself being God, is it a wonder that all are God? There must be a seer and thinker for even the practice. Who is he? Devotee puts the question through poetry, music, japa, bhajan, beautiful landscapes, reading the lives of spiritual heroes, etc. One sometimes experiences a true sense of all unity. Is that feeling of deep, blissful quiet wherein the personal self has no place, the entering into the heart whereof Bhagwan speaks? Will practice of that lead to a deeper samadhi and so ultimately to a full vision of the real? Maharshi replies, again there is happiness at agreeable sights, etc. It is the happiness inherent in the self. That happiness is not alien, and after you are diving into the pure self on occasions which you consider pleasurable, that diving reveals the self-existent bliss. But the association of ideas is responsible for foisting this bliss onto other things or happenings. In fact, it is within you. On these occasions you are plunging into the self. Though unconsciously you do so, consciously you call it realization. I want you to dive consciously into the self, that is into the heart. Talk number 255. Devotee puts the question, if the self be always realized, we should only keep still. Is that so, Maharshi? If you can keep still without engaging in any other pursuits, it is very good. If that cannot be done, where is the use of being quiet so far as realization is concerned? So long as one is obliged to be active, let him not give up the attempt to realize the self. Talk number 256. A question was asked regarding the position of one whose jnana is weak in the scheme of things. The doubt was if that Mandaryani had stopped short of Kevala Nirvikalpa. Maharshi replies, Kevala Nirvikalpa happens even in the Tanumanasi stage of attenuated mind. Devotee puts the question, the middling and superior jnanis are said to be Jivan Muktas. Kevala Nirvikalpa is in Tanumanasa. Where does one whose jnana is weak fit in? Maharshi replies, he comes in Sattvapatti realization, whereas the middling and the superior ones come in Asma Sakti and Padratha Bhavini respectively. Padarth Bhavani respectively. This division as a dull, middling and superior is according to the momentum of Prarabdha. If it is strong, he is weak. If it is middling, he is middling too. If Prarabdha is weak, he is superior. If it is very weak, he is in Turyaga. There is no difference in the samadhi state or the jnana of the jnani. The classification is only from the standpoint of the observer. Is Tanumanasi the same as Mumukshutva? Maharshi, no. The six qualities, discrimination, dispassion, and Mumukshutva, etc., precede Subhecha. The first stage follows Mumukshutva, then comes the Vicharana, search, then the tenuous mind. Direct perception is in Sattvapati, realization. There is no need to discuss similar points. Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti are differently described by different authorities. Videha Mukti is sometimes said to occur even when the man is seen with a body. The fact is that Mukti is another name for Aham, I. The seven Jnana Bhumikas, stage of knowledge are Subhecha, desire for enlightenment, 2. Vicharana, hearing and reflection, 3. Tanumanasi, tenuous mind, 4th. Sattvapati, self-realization, 5th. Asma Sakti, non-attachment, 6th. Padartha Bhavani, absolute non-perception of objects, 7th. Turiyaga, beyond words. Those who have attained the last four bhumikas are respectively called Brahmavitve, Brahmavidavara, Brahmavidvarya, and Brahmavidvarishta. Talk number 257. Devotee puts a question. A certain young man from Dindigul spoke to Sri Bhagwan, saying that he had learned by his stay for a few days that all that he needed to was to inquire, who am I? He wanted to know if any discipline was to be observed and started with the question, where should I do the inquiry? Meaning, if he should do it in Guru Sannidhi, the presence of the Master, Maharshi, the inquiry should be from where the I is. Devotee, people labor for gaining the summum bonum of life. I think that they are not on the right track. Sri Bhagwan has made considerable tapas and achieved the goal. Sri Bhagwan is also desirous that all should reach the goal and willing to help them to that end. His vicarious tapas must enable others to reach the goal rather easily. They need not undergo all the hardships which Sri Bhagwan has already undergone. Their way has been made easy for them by Sri Bhagwan. Am I not right? Maharshi replies. Maharshi smiled and said, if that were so, everyone would easily reach the goal, but each one must work for himself. Talk number 258. Devotee puts a question. A young man from Mysore gave a return slip to Sri Bhagwan and waited for an answer. He had asked Sri Bhagwan to say where other Mahatmas could be found whom he might approach for guidance. He confessed that he had left his home without informing his elders in order that he might seek God through Mahatmas. True, he knew nothing of God or of search for him, therefore he desired to see Mahatmas. Sri Bhagwan simply returned the note saying, I must answer any and every question. Unless I do so, I am not great. The boy tore away the slip and wrote another which said, you were kind to squirrels and hares, you fondle them when they struggle to run away from you, yet you are indifferent to human beings. For instance, I have left my home and am waiting here for a fortnight. I have had no food for some days. I am struggling, still you do not care for me. Maharshi replies, look here, I am not endowed with television. God has not bestowed that gift on me. What shall I do? How can I answer your questions? People call me Maharshi and treat me like this, but I do not see myself as a Maharshi. On the other hand, everyone is a Maharshi to me. It is good that you in this early age are attempting to see God. Concentrate on Him, do your work without desiring the fruits thereof. That's all that you should do. Talk number 259. Nada, Bindu and Kala correspond to prana, mind and intellect. Ishvara is beyond nada, sound, nada, jyoti, light, etc. are mentioned in yoga literature, but God is beyond these. The circulation of blood, respiration of air, and other functions of the body are bound to produce sound. That sound is involuntary and continuous. That is nada. Talk number 260. An extract from Hermit in the Himalayas was found in the Sunday Times. It related to recapitulations of past incarnations. In it, Paul Brunton has mentioned the Buddhist methods of gaining that faculty. Sri Bhagwan said there is a class of people who want to know all about their future, their past. They ignore the present. The load from the past forms the present misery. The attempt to recall the past is mere wastage of time. Talk number 261. There was a reference to reincarnation of Shanti Devi tallies with the human standards of time, whereas the latest case reported of a boy of 7 is different. The boy is 7 years now. He recalled his past births. Enquiries go to show that the previous body was given up 10 months ago. The question arises how the matter stood for 6 years and 2 months previous to the death of the former body. Did the soul occupy 2 bodies at the same time? Sri Bhagwan pointed out that the 7 years is according to boy, 10 months is according to the observer. The difference is due to these 2 different upadhis. The boy's experience extending to 7 years has been calculated by the observer to cover only 10 months of his own time. Sri Bhagwan again referred to Leela's story in Yoga Vasishtha. Talk number 262. Dr. Syed, a Muslim professor, is now here. A skeptic friend of his had confronted him with the question, what miracle does your Maharshi work? He had replied that the ordinary people, being no better than animals, are made man, and that we, being only his children, are endowed with strength by Maharshi. He desired to know if he was right in replying to him. Refreshing peace within is the highest miracle. Maharshi possesses it. What is that to us? The other man asked. I replied, the same peace is bestowed on all visitors to be shared by them. Mr. Paul Brunton has mentioned it in his book. Everyone feels it every day in Maharshi's presence. The whole conversation was mentioned to Sri Bhagwan with the following addition. Parsurama has said that he felt some refreshing peace within when he met Samvirta on the way, so he made him out to be a great saint. Is not such peace the sole criterion of a Mahatma's presence? Is there anything else? Sri Bhagwan said, a Madhava saint, Tattva Prayar, had composed a Bharani on his master Svarupanand. Pandits objected to the composition, saying that it was reserved to such as have killed more than 1,000 elephants in battle, whereas Svarupanand was an idle man sitting somewhere unknown to people, and he did not deserve that panegyric. Tatvarwar asked them all to assemble before his master so that they might see for themselves if he could slay 1,000 elephants at a time. They did so. As soon as they appeared, they were struck dumb and remained in beatific peace for a few days without the least movement. When they regained their senses, they saluted both the master and the disciple, saying that they were more than satisfied. Svarupanand excelled the warriors in that he could subdue the egos, which is a much more formidable task than slaying 1,000 elephants. Maharshi said that the moral was clear. Peace is the sole criterion of a Mahatma's presence. 20th October 1936. Talk number 263. Dr. Syed puts a question. Sri Bhagwan says that the heart is the self. Psychology has it that malice, envy, jealousy and all passions have their seat in the heart. How are these two statements to be reconciled? Maharshi replies, the whole cosmos is contained in one pinhole in the heart. These passions are part of the cosmos. They are avidya, ignorance. Devotee, how did avidya arise? Maharshi replies, avidya is like Maya. See who is not is Maya, illusion. Similarly, that which is not is ignorance. Therefore, the question does not arise. Nevertheless, the question is asked. Then ask, whose is the avidya? Avidya is ignorance. It implies subject and object. Become the subject and there will be no object. Devotee puts a question, what is avidya? Maharshi replies, ignorance of self. Who is ignorant of the self? The self must be ignorant of self. Are there two selves? Talk number 264. Devotee, does Bhagwan see the world as part and parcel of himself? How does he see the world? Maharshi replies, the self alone is and nothing else. However, it is differentiated owing to ignorance. Differentiation is threefold. Number one, of the same kind. Number two, of different kind. Number three, as parts in itself. The world is not another self similar to the self. It is not different from the self, nor it is part of the self. Devotee, is not the world reflected on the self? Maharshi, for reflection there must be an object and an image, but the self does not admit of these differences. Devotee, does not then Bhagwan see the world? Maharshi, whom do you mean by Bhagwan? Devotee, a jiva advanced more than I. Maharshi, if you understand your jiva, the other jiva is also understood. Devotee, I do not want to discuss, I want to learn. Please instruct me. Maharshi, because you desire to learn, discussion is unavoidable. Leave all this aside, consider your sleep. Are you then aware of bondage, or do you seek means for release? Are you then aware of the body itself? The sense of bondage is associated with the body. Otherwise, there is no bondage, no material to bind with, and no one to be bound. These appear, however, in your wakeful state. Consider to whom they appear. Devotee puts a question to the mind. Devotee answers. Mercy, watch the mind, you must stand aloof from it. You are not the mind, and the self will remain ever. Devotee, does Sri Bhagwan believe in evolution? Maharshi, evolution must be from one state to another. When no difference are admitted, how can evolution arise? Devotee, why does Sri Krishna say after several rebirths the seeker gains knowledge and thus knows me? There must be evolution from stage to stage. Maharshi replies, how does Bhagavad Gita begin? Neither I was not, nor you, nor these chiefs, etc. Neither it is born, nor does it die, etc. So there is no birth, no death, no present. As you look at it, reality was, is, and will be. It is changeless. Later, Arjuna asked Sri Krishna how he could have lived before Aditya. Then Krishna, seeing Arjuna was confounding him with the gross body, spoke to him accordingly. The instruction is for the one who sees diversity. In reality, there is no bondage nor mukti for himself or for others. From the Jnani's standpoint, devotee are all in liberation. Maharshi, where is all? There is no liberation either. It could be only if there was bondage. There was really no bondage, and so it follows there is no liberation. Devotee, but to evolve through births, there must be practice, years of abhyasa. Maharshi, abhyasa is only to prevent any disturbance to the inherent peace. There is no question of years. Prevent this thought at this moment. You are only in your natural state, whether you make abhyasa or not. Another man asked, why do not all realize the self in that case? Maharshi, it is the same question in another guise. Why do you raise this question? Inasmuch as you raise this question of abhyasa, it shows you require abhyasa. Make it, but to remain without question or doubts is the natural state. God created man and man created God. They both are the originators of forms and names only. In fact, neither God nor man was created. 21st October 1936, talk number 265. The aristocratic lady again came after a few days, went straight to Bhagwan, saluted him and said, I came last time with my husband and children. I was thinking of their food and time was pressing, so I could not stay here as long as I would have wished, but I was later worried over the hurried nature of the visit. I have returned now to sit quiet and imbibe Sri Bhagwan's grace. May he give me strength of mind. The hall was already kept clear of people. She sat on a crude carpet in front of Sri Bhagwan. Sri Bhagwan said, smiling, yes, silence is perpetual speaking. Ordinary speech hinders that heart-to-heart talk. She agreed and sat quiet. Sri Bhagwan was sitting, reclining on the sofa. His eyes were fixed in her direction with a gracious smile, and on his lips both remained silent and motionless for about an hour. Prasad was distributed. The lady said, now I want to return. The river between Bangalore and this place is in floods. On my way here, a bus was overturned in the flood. My car came later and I saw the sad accident. Still, I was not afraid to ford the river. My car came out safe. I would like to return in daytime. This time I shall not say is the last time I shall come. As I said on former occasions, I do not know, but it may be so. Yet Maharshi should give me strength of mind. I long for bhakti. I want more of this longing. Even realization does not matter for me. Let me be strong in my longing. Maharshi, if the longing is there, realization will be forced on you even if you do not want it. Subhecha is the doorway for realization. Devotee, let it be so, but I am content with longing even when I am away from this place. I must not relax in my devotion. May Sri Bhagwan give me the necessary strength. Such longing could only be through His grace. I am personally too weak. Again, when I was here on a previous occasion, I asked several questions, but I could not follow Sri Bhagwan's answers. I thought I would not ask any more questions, but only sit quiet in his presence, imbibing grace which might be extended to me. So I do not pursue Maharshi with more questions this time. Only let me have his grace. Maharshi, your repeated visits to this place indicate the extension of grace. She was surprised and said I was going to ask Maharshi if he called me. For all of a sudden, my husband told me this morning there are 2 days free. If you want, you may visit Maharshi and return. I was very agreeably surprised and pleased. I took it to be a call from Maharshi. She also expressed a desire to reside near Maharshi and asked for his blessings. Maharshi said, a higher power is leading you, be led by the same. Devotee, but I am not aware of it. Please make me aware of it. Maharshi, the higher power knows what to do and how to do it. Trust it. Talk number 266. The Muslim professor asked, it is said that one should give up desire, but there are the needs of the body which are irrepressible. What is to be done, Maharshi? An aspirant must be equipped with the 3 requisites. Number 1, Ichha. Number 2, Bhakti. And number 3, Shraddha. Ichha means satisfaction of bodily wants without attachment to the body, such as hunger and thirst and evacuations. Unless it is done, meditation cannot progress. Bhakti and Shraddha are already known. Devotee, there are 2 kinds of desires, the baser and nobler. Is it our duty to transmute the baser one to the nobler? Maharshi, yes. Devotee, well, Bhagwan, you said there are 3 requisites, of which Ichha is the satisfaction of natural wants without attachment to the body, etc. I take food 3 or 4 times a day and attend to bodily wants so much so that I am oppressed by the body. Is there a state when I shall be disembodied so that I might be free from the scourge of bodily wants? Maharshi, it is the attachments, raga, dvesa, which are injurious. The action is not bad in itself. There is no harm in eating 3 or 4 times, but only do not say, I want this kind of food and not that kind, and so on. Moreover, you take those meals in 12 hours of wakeful state, whereas you are not eating in the hours of sleep. Does sleep lead you to mukti? It is wrong to suppose that simple inactivity leads one to mukti. Devotee, there are said to be Sadeha Mukta, liberated in body, and Videha Mukta, liberated without body. Maharshi, there is no liberation, and where are muktas? Devotee, do not Hindu Shastra speak of mukti? Maharshi, mukti is synonymous with the self. Jivan mukti, liberation while alive, and videha mukti, liberation after the body falls, are all for the ignorant. The jnani is not conscious of mukti or bandha, bondage. Liberation and orders of mukti are all said for an ajnani in order that ignorance might be shaken off. There is only mukti and nothing else. Devotee, it is all right from the standpoint of Bhagwan, but what about us? Maharshi, the difference, he and I are the obstacles to jnana. Devotee. But it cannot be denied that Bhagwan is of a high order, whereas we are limited. Will Bhagwan make me one with him? Mercy. Were you aware of limitations in your sleep? Devotee, I cannot bring down the state of my sleep in the present state and speak of it. Mercy, you need not. These three states alternate before the unchanging self. You can remember your state of sleep. That is in your real state. There were no limitations then. After the rise of the I thought, the limitations arose. Devotee, how to attain the self? Maharshi, self is not to be attained because you are the self. Devotee, yes, there is an unchanging self and a changing one in me. There are two selves. Maharshi, the changefulness is mere thought. All thoughts arise after arising of the I thoughts. See to whom the thoughts arise, then you transcend them and they subside. This is to say, tracing the source of the I thought, you realize the perfect I. I is the name of the self. Devotee, shall I meditate on I am Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi? Maharshi, the text is not meant for thinking I am Brahma. Aham, I is known to everyone. Brahma abides as Aham in everyone. Find out the I is already Brahma. You need not think so, simply find out the I. Devotee, is not a discarding of the seeds mentioned in the Shastras. Maharshi, after the rise of the I thought, there is the false identification of the I with the body, the senses, the mind, etc. I is wrongly associated with them and the true I is lost sight of. In order to shift the pure I from the contaminated I, this discarding is mentioned, but it does not mean exactly discarding of the non-self, but it means the finding of the real self. The real self is the infinite I, that is, I is perfection. It is eternal, it has no origin and no end. The other I is born and also dies. It is impermanent. See to whom are the changing thoughts, they will be found to arise after the I thought. Hold the I thought, they subside. Trace back the source of the I thought, the self alone will remain. Devotee, it is difficult to follow. I understand the theory, but what is the practice? Maharshi, the other methods are meant for those who cannot take to the investigation of the self, even to repeat Aham Brahmasmi or think of it as a doer is necessary. Who is it? It is I. Be that I. It is the direct method. The other method also will ultimately lead everyone to this method of the investigation of the self. Devotee, I am aware of the I, yet my troubles are not ended. Maharshi, this I thought is not pure, it is contaminated with the association of the body and senses. See to whom the trouble is. It is to the I thought, hold it, then the other thoughts vanish. Devotee, yes, how to do it? That is the whole trouble. Mercy, think I, and hold to that one thought to the exclusion of all other thoughts. So I end this video here, and the next video number 16 will start talk number 267, 23rd October 1936, and page 242. So thank you, my dear friends. Namaskar. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar. Namaskar.